The season's highlights of the Denver Broncos are brought to you by United, the airline the pros fly. Fly the friendly skies of United. Although gallons of ink, tons of paper, and millions of words have been devoted to the subject, Colorado really is a special place. And even after you've seen everything Colorado has to offer, the thing that makes it special is still the people. Pro football is a special game, and although ink, paper, and words have been devoted to that subject, it is still just a game. But again, it is the people who make it special, those who follow it, and those who play. In 1970, more Denver Bronco fans came to see more good football played than ever before. And although the team produced the same record as in 1969, there was something special about Bronco football in 1970. The team became much more competitive and was in first place for over a month. But still threading its way through the fabric of color and excitement was the harsh pattern of frustration and disappointment that tends to weave itself through all our lives. It's natural to speculate on what could or might have happened if this or that, but it's safe to say that enough bizarre things came down on the 1970 Broncos to keep the Twilight Zone in business for a long time. On occasion, everyone concerned had to stop to wonder about what was real and what was imagined. While 1970 was not everything all had worked and hoped for, October seemed to hold more promise for Denver than ever before, as the Broncos ripped through the early part of the schedule, beating or at least terrorizing teams from coast to coast. For opening day, the Broncos traveled to War Memorial Stadium in Buffalo. Denver coach Lou Saban felt very comfortable in these surroundings, as he had once coached the Bills to a pair of championships. At the beginning of the game, it looked as if he were still coaching them, as an interception, a fumble recovery, a field goal, and an O.J. Simpson touchdown added up to 10 quick Buffalo points. In the second half, however, Denver got down to business. Floyd Little, number 44, ran the ball 8 straight times for 54 yards to open the third quarter. Steve Tenzie, number 13, then passed 2 yards to Al Denson, number 88, and Denver gained the lead 12-10. That drive was all the offense Denver needed, as the Bills were kept close to the earth the rest of the afternoon by a healthy and aggressive defensive unit. In an attempt to run out the clock for the entire fourth quarter, Tenzie handed off to rookie Bobby Anderson, number 11, who ran the ball 27 yards to his first touchdown as a Bronco. Bobby's run lifted the score to 19-10. And still left time for Bobby Howfield to kick 2 additional field goals and top off a 25-10 victory. Although they had come from behind to beat Buffalo in convincing fashion, there was still more to accomplish before the Broncos could be considered title contenders. In the home opener against Pittsburgh, the defense was even more spectacular than it had been against Buffalo. Following a Bronco fumble at the 4-yard line, the Steelers had 7 shots at scoring a touchdown, but couldn't. Ex-Steeler Paul Martha, number 47, crushed Terry Hanratty's attempt to bootleg. He also intercepted a fourth quarter pass and recovered a fumble. It was a strange game, as each team appeared willing to give the other the initiative. But again, Denver rallied in the second half to post another victory. Floyd Little burst to the 2-yard line, and Willis Crenshaw, number 33, eased into the end zone for Denver's first touchdown. Denver's clinching points came on a spectacular 38-yard pass from Steve Tenzi to Billy Van Heusen, number 42. While the offense was providing the big play for victory with the defense sustaining them, the day really belonged to rookie linebacker David Washington, number 56. David's third-quarter safety turned the momentum around in Denver's favor. That wasn't his only appearance of the day, as he cracked down Steeler runners and hurried their passers all afternoon. Linebacker was one position Denver needed to improve in 1970, and David was some kind of an improvement. Joining David in several opposing backfields was Paul Smith, number 70. An unusually strong player, now in his third year with the Broncos, Paul has developed into the kind of defensive tackle that coaches pray they'll find, and ball carriers pray they'll lose. If you ever run into Paul, chances are he'll leave a lasting impression on you. With the defense solid and ready, the encounter with Kansas City figured to be an especially interesting one. You see, Denver hadn't beaten Kansas City for more years than anyone west of Akron would like to admit. So with number 36 Bill Thompson and Charlie Greer, number 20, picking off passes, the performance of Denver's defense was more than politely received by the 50,000 screaming Denverites who couldn't believe their eyes. With the defense establishing its intentions early, Denver's offense came down with some really fine performances. Jim Whalen, number 83, Willis Crenshaw, and Billy Masters, number 81, all new to the team in 1970, were key figures and deserve a lot of credit. While the offense was again able to generate the power to win, the game ultimately belonged to the defense. So completely was Kansas City stymied that the entire unit was cited as the Defensive Player of the Week by a national wire service. 7 times they got to the quarterback, forcing 3 interceptions and 2 fumbles. With the 26-13 victory snapping the Kansas City jinx, people began believing that if Denver could get by Oakland, then San Diego, then maybe... Well, it was confusing, but then so was the game against Oakland. Denver showed early why they were undefeated, as Darryl LaMonica and his elite core of receivers were treated like anything but royalty. Midway through the second quarter, Denver opened a 17-7 lead on some brilliant individual efforts. Floyd Little broke 3 tackles en route to a 54-yard touchdown. Number 22, Fran Lynch, kept the Raiders as honest as can be expected on sweeps and swing passes. Then Mike Hafner, number 84, took just enough steps to walk away with a 28-yard touchdown. With the game under control and Denver looking better every week, the Raiders decided it was time to serve up their weekly dose of sorcery. LaMonica began heaving the ball up for grabs, and no matter what Denver did, the ball seemed to have a mind of its own. Ironically, this was the first game in which Denver had allowed a touchdown pass. But the way they were completed was more than a little depressing, as the Raiders won 35-23. Coming home to face the Falcons, Denver was able to recreate their victory formula. Things that went wrong against Oakland went right against Atlanta. The besieged Charlie Greer recovered from his hip injury to intercept another pass, and the rush by the front four kept the Falcons screeching for relief. Given good field position, the offense was converting turnovers into touchdowns. Safety Paul Martha accounted for 3 pass interceptions and was awarded the game ball. So despite the loss to Oakland, the 24-10 victory over Atlanta ensured that Denver would at least be champions of October. But another day of reckoning was at hand back in the Bay Area. In the 6th week of the season and sporting a 4-1 record, the Broncos left Denver for a trip out to San Francisco to face the powerful 49ers. The flight allowed time to ponder things that were or were to be, and there was no doubt that the Broncos were now in a position to break their season and indeed their history wide open. Of course, the Broncos made the trip by United Airlines, the airline the pros fly. The game in San Francisco pitted 2 teams who had lost only once, and it was time to see who was full of hot air and who could really fly. The 49ers boasted the best offense in the National Conference, Denver the best defense in the American Conference. But from the opening whistle, statistics and rankings were cast aside in favor of an old-fashioned slugfest. The 2 teams churned up and down Kezar Stadium with neither side able to take effective control of the game. Not until near halftime, that is, as Denver stormed 74 yards, resting briefly on occasion, then returning to the fray to score their second touchdown on a Pete Lisk pass to Willis Crenshaw. Crenshaw played a part in Denver's first score also, as his crunching block on the right linebacker set Floyd Little free on the longest run of his career. 80 yards and a touchdown. But the 49ers stayed close on passes to Gene Washington and 2 field goals. Denver lost their first half momentum when John Eisenbarger took a short pass early in the third quarter and sprinted jaunty, jolly 61 yards for the 49ers' only touchdown. However, they also added 2 more field goals. So trailing 19-14, Denver suddenly found itself with time for only one more drive. Bobby Anderson accounted for most of the yardage as Denver punched its way to the 25. During any season, thousands of blocks, tackles, and runs are executed, but destiny always seems to come from one play, one opportunity where time stands still. With no time showing on the clock, Pete Lisk's pass found a home in a 49er uniform, and that was it, literally. For as well as Denver played against a team that came within a touchdown of going to the Super Bowl, as strong as their earlier performances had been, as improved as they were, Denver could win but one more game the rest of the season. Certainly, the lack of consistent quarterbacking hurt, but injuries in the line afforded less than perfect protection. Other times, there'd be a zig when there should have been a zag. Here and there, a costly mental error. Although far from stoic during all this, Coach Lou Saban remained pragmatic and honest regarding what was going on.
You take these men, you prepare them for the entire week. You hope when the whistle blows, they're ready. They've got to build within themselves. To me, football is, there's nothing phony about our business. Either you do it or you don't do it. That's what it amounts to. If they can accept the challenge and they happen to be the best on that particular day, more than likely they're going to win.
It was also true that Denver could not often get the ball to take a simple bounce for them. And the sweet days of October seemed a jaded memory from a long time past. Against Oakland, Denver charged back from a 17-6 deficit and took the lead at 19-17 with but 4 minutes left, and Denver seeming to have changed its luck. But Oakland's cauldron was still bubbling, and George Blanda completed several unbelievable passes to win the game for them. Consistent success without a lot of good luck is unlikely, and Denver couldn't find much. Against San Diego with the score tied and time running out, quarterback Alan Pastrana, number 12, who was also offensive captain, ran the ball well into field goal range, only to be cracked unconscious while his teammates pleaded for time to be called. The official said only Pastrana could call time. Only Pastrana was sound asleep, and Denver had to settle for a tie in a game they should have won. While it's true that big plays and breaks were taking their toll of victories, there were other things that were going in the right direction, and one of them was Denver's rookie halfback, Bobby Anderson. Aside from being the crown prince of Denver's mod squad, Bobby accomplished things on the football field that many so-called experts thought beyond him. Not being the biggest, fastest, or strongest, Bobby worked on being the smartest and the toughest. And it paid off in the respect of his teammates and the adoration of the fans, even those who don't wear skirts. Bobby performed excellently in relieving one of the greatest stars in sport, Denver's all-everything, Floyd Little. For the first time in his career, Floyd played in all 14 games and won his first rushing title with 901 yards. Everything that can be said about Floyd Little's ability to run with the football has already gone down. What makes him special is the man himself. Contemporary, dedicated, and unselfish, Floyd Little is a pro. Although he was once a raft of excitement upon a sea of relative tranquility, Floyd had some real competition in the spine-tingling department in 1970 from those courtly gentlemen who play defense. 1970 saw the Bronco defenders mesh into a unit that was third in overall defense in the AFC and second against the run, allowing fewer than 100 yards a game. They dumped the passer 50 times, second in all of football. The chairman of the board, because he's the oldest, is co-captain Dave Costa, number 63. Although grossly underrated by the national press, Dave plays as solid a defensive tackle as anyone, anywhere. However, the soul of the organization, if you will, is Rich Tombstone Jackson, number 87, named to every All-Pro team for 1970. Every one. Rich, Dave, Paul Smith, and Pete Duranko, number 55, anchor Denver's greatest all-round strength, the defense. If these men aren't the nucleus of a title-contending team, then they don't exist. What is needed are more performances from the offense, like the one in New Orleans. Against the Saints, for a pleasant change, everything was in the proper shape, in the right place, and in step with everything else. Tipped passes were falling into our hands, and if it looked like a long gainer would go down, it went down. The 74-yard completion to Bill Van Heusen was Denver's longest of the year. Four different Broncos scored touchdowns, and the 31 points on 452 yards of offense were season highs. And speaking of highs, the defense dropped in on New Orleans on several unwelcome occasions, throwing off their timing and simply overpowering them. They held the Saints without a touchdown. It was the kind of all-around performance that could, with health and quarterbacking, create for 1971 the opportunity for the Denver Broncos to be more than October's champions. The season's highlights of the Denver Broncos have been brought to you by United, the airline the pros fly. Fly the friendly skies of United.